Hello, this is Safernal11. I'm making this video because I've seen a lot of people talking about Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse, the new game that was released a few days ago. I think it was about a week, actually. But I posted a couple of reviews, and after putting about 40 to 50 hours into the game and unlocking most of it, I thought I'd go ahead and do a review on the game and how it works. And that's going to be annoying. Sorry for the window, guys. Is there a way I can position myself so that I block it? Do this, maybe? Ah, that worked. Ah, come on. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Anyways, I wrote a review, actually, to explain what's going on. So I need to be reading this. Well, okay, so 50 hours into the game. And when I first started playing it, I actually was very upset and disappointed at the game, but I stuck with it, and after 50 hours, I wrote a negative review when I first started playing on Steam because I was very upset. And honestly, I still have a negative review on the game. I would advise you not to buy it right away. Wait until the price goes down and until they fix some of the problems that they have. So going into this is going to be an honest review of Dragon Ball Xenoverse. So the first thing is, it's on PC. Finally, this is the first Dragon Ball Z game to come to PC, aside from Dragon Ball Online, which as far as I'm aware, last I heard, it had no English equivalents. It was only made available on, I think it was Korean servers, but you could get an English patch and play the game. And I played that a little bit, which was a lot of fun. It was an MMO with Dragon Ball Z. It was amazing. But for the first game for American players able to play, for the first game for PC, really, that Steam has put out, it's fantastic. It's a first step in putting Dragon Ball on PC, which needs to happen because there's so much potential there. But it's a first step. And as I'm sure many of you recall, Tenkaichi was also that first step. And there were a lot of issues that came up, but in later games they fix that. So I see this game as a first step in the right direction. I'm hoping there's going to be more to it that they make. If there's not, there's not. I just see this as a step in the right direction. But it is a first game, so there are going to be errors. Just bear that in mind. Anyways, so I'm going to go over pros first and then cons. So if you want to skip down to cons, I figure it's going to be about 4 minutes of going over the pros, and then we hit cons. Anyways, the theme song. Now, I'm a huge music guy. I love music. I love audio stuff. I love messing around with music. It's great. I love music. The theme song, though. The theme song really got me this time because the storyline of the game, I won't spoil it, so you don't have to worry about spoilers. But the storyline of the game is that you are an alternate universe. This is sort of a what-if possibility, and there's a lot of those. And so the main theme song for the game is the typical Dragon Ball Z theme, but it's got a really cool twist on it. And I think that ties in really well with the whole alternate sort of what-if scenario. And just the theme, 50 hours in, I still will play that audio like it's nobody's business. I love, love, love that game. Or the theme, sorry. Not necessarily the game, although I do like the game. But I still listen to the theme for about 50% of the time, 50 hours in. So that's not. Making your own character. Now, this one is both a pro and a con, but I'm going to go over the pro side for right now. And I'm actually looking at, I've got WordPad up right now, looking over to make sure I don't mess up or get too distracted. So this one's a pro and a con. The pro side is you can actually make your own Dragon Ball Z character. They look like how you want. They will dress if you have the right outfits. You actually have to purchase outfits and buy them, which I'll go over a little bit later. Which is just... Or no, I don't go over it later. Well, yeah, you can customize your character almost completely. You can wear clothing. It's really cool to actually be able to make your own character. And you can do different chins, you can do different eyes, you can do different ears, different races. And each race has unique things that only they can do. It's really, really, really cool to be able to actually do so for once. And so that's actually part of the fun of the game, is being able to play around with that. And I will go over the con side of this a little bit later in. The storyline. Again, this is both a pro and a con. The con I'll cover again later, but the pro side of the storyline is it actually makes sense. And that's something that always bugs me with games, is like, oh, so you just happen to do this, and happen to do this, and happen to do this, and just the right way that this happens, so that you could go on and do this, so that other characters in the game did this, so then it progressed to this. And I just thought that that was, like, I mean, it doesn't ruin a game, but it really breaks immersion. And with Xenoverse, I love the storyline. Like, it's actually plausible as to the what if and how your character can be created and interact in this Dragon Ball Z world. It's really good. I really love the storyline. Next up is Pros Masters. You can actually train under, I think it's like 8 or 9 different masters. I don't have the DLC, which they also released. That, like, it's included. You can buy it for an extra $20, $30. But it's like, you can train under masters. Like, I'm working on going through masters right now on my current playthrough. Like, I've mastered Vegeta, trained under Vegeta, and when you train under masters, you get their skills, but more importantly, you also get what's called a Z assist. And that is like, if I'm training under Vegeta, and I get his final Ki Blast, or his super attack, which is his final flash, there will be points in the game where I will do a final flash, and Vegeta will appear behind me and do the move as well, or it will look like a ghost image of him is doing it as well. It's kind of like the Father-Son Kamehameha, and it's just a really cool touch. But it almost doubles the power of your energy blast, like of that super special when there's a Z assist. So that's really awesome. But that's stories. Okay. Next up is, you don't have to play as your character. And that was something I really, really liked. And this I'll go over co-op as well, because co-op is a huge plus. Co-op is interesting. There are 55 total parallel missions that you can do. Parallel quests, and they vary depending on what they do. More importantly, though, you're not restricted to your character in those quests. You don't have to play as your character. You can play as Omega Shenron and fight Raditz. I mean, it's hilarious. And the skill of those characters, those other, like, actual canon characters, Goku, Vegeta, is based on the level of your character, so if you want them to do well, you have to level up your main character. But it's still cool that in online mode, like, getting Omega Shenron is very hard. It takes a lot of hours of grinding, and it's not fun to do. Now, that being said, if you want to, you can run as Omega Shenron and show off. Like, it's almost like bragging rights, and you're like, haha, I have Omega Shenron, and then you blow up Raditz and colorful firewood. So that's also quite fun and very enjoyable. Graphics. This game can play up to 4K resolution. I can't do that because I'm using an older Westinghouse monitor right now. I have to use the used one. It's starting to die. A couple of pixels got stuck, but oh well. Anyways, it can play up to 4K. So if you're playing it on a next-gen system, like an Xbox One or a PS4, and you're playing on a TV that can handle it, it's a joy just to play the game, just to see the special effects and see what's going on. It's beautiful, and it's amazing to play, but again, you have to make sure you can actually play at the quality. And for me, graphics is a huge thing, so this really stood out to me. There is a downside to the graphics, or anyway, there isn't really a downside to the graphics, but good graphics don't overcome bad game design, and I feel this game has a lot of bad game design. But, so graphics, the game makes it a joy to play. Another thing they did was they actually reduced a lot of what makes graphical computers, like things that would make your graphics card like overtax itself. They removed a lot of that, and there is some destructible environment, but the way that they did it is they made it so that it will take the least amount out of your graphics card as possible, letting lower-end computers run at higher settings, which is something I appreciate. So the last pro that I wanted to go over was the skills that you can get. And there are many skills. And getting those skills is part of what makes it fun. You can get so many skills. Anything anybody does in Dragon Ball Z basically is a skill that you can get. And it's really, really cool. Like, one of the ones I just picked up from training under Goku was the Afterimage Strike. So I'll teleport around 8 or 9 times, and then you can choose to end it early by attacking. Like, one of my favorite things is to do the Afterimage Strike, teleport around somebody a few times randomly, and then shoot a Kamehameha. Which, kind of a dick move, I guess, but it's fun. So the skill set. Oh, it's amazing. It's so cool. But these are really the only pros. And I mean, playing with friends is okay, but there are a lot of negatives that really bite into the positive games for me, and if I could go back, I would not buy this game. I would not pay $50 for this game because it's very broken, and I would like, and I'll go into that, why that is now. So, the storyline. And I said this was a pro and a con. Well, here's the con side. Once the storyline is done, and it takes about 15 hours, not counting you having to grind out levels, because the game's enemies will scale statically, so if you're not a high enough level to fight a fight, you're screwed. Sorry, you're done. Game over. And end of the line. You cannot progress further. And in storyline quests, more often than not, you can't have people help you. Or you can't have people help you, period. So you're stuck on your own. So if you can't advance, it's not a matter of playing better or playing worse because of the way the stat system is set up. It's just, if you can't handle those battles, you can't handle those battles, and you're done. And so that the game almost forces you to grind, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But my issue with it is once you beat the game, however long it takes you, it could take a really good player 10 hours. It could take a less experienced player 20 hours. It took me about 17, 18 hours to beat the game. But once you beat the storyline, you're done. You cannot replay the storyline, which really, really sucks because I've already said, I love the storyline. The storyline's fantastic. It's a great game. But Xenoverse will save your stats and your items to your Steam account. So even if you delete all local content and then reload the game, you will still have all of your skills, all of your items. You just won't have and I think you still have your character, which that's good, but if you want to restart over, that means you start at level 1 and have to grind back up again, but you keep all your skills and stuff. So I mean, it's good and bad, but you will never be able to replay that storyline once you beat it. It's gone forever. You cannot replay any storyline missions anymore. You're done. I think the parallel missions are actually the parallel missions will do it as well. Like you're basically the story mode is just parallel missions, but once you beat it, it's like the cutscenes that play and that stuff. Like I'd love to watch those again, but I can't because you're done. It's gone. So once you beat the game, you're basically just running side missions and grinding for characters, skills, clothing, and Dragonballs, which I mean is fun, but it almost removes the lack of purpose for wanting to play it for me personally. If this isn't a big deal for you, well, that's great. I mean, good for you. You might like the other stuff, but okay. Next up, the next con is grinding. And oh my gosh, if you do not like grinding, I will warn you right now, do never buy this game. Never buy it. So there are a lot of skills and costumes that can be unlocked over the course of the main storyline. However, there are a lot of skills, equips, and clothing that don't appear in the shops. So even if you beat everything, like pretty much I have, there's a lot that I don't have because it requires you to grind the same missions over and over and over and over and over again. Now, as an example, each mission usually will have lower missions have like 2 or 3 items, but then like the end mission has like, basically I think from parallel mission like 15 on, has like around 10 items each mission, and you're lucky if one of the special items drops. And a lot of the times with clothing missions, it'll say Vegito's clothes, or Vegito's clothes. And what that doesn't tell you is there are boots, gloves, leggings, and then torso. So it's really like 14 items instead of the 10. But you're lucky if one drops. And this is just me speaking personally. I remember running a mission. I was trying to get the Big Bang Kamehameha ability, and I ran the mission that you get it in 5 times, and I ended up getting 2 equips off of that, or 2 items off of the list of things that it shows you, and I never, like, it just, the drop rate for the items that you can get is obscenely low. Same thing for Dragon Balls, and I'm kind of jumping around, but basically, the point of the story is you have to grind for items a lot, and skills a lot, and it's just, if you don't like grinding, don't play the game. Because if you want to unlock everything, you are going to have to pour so many hours into getting it, unless you happen to be very, 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 very lucky. And I mean, that's your choice, it's not. But the Dragon Balls in particular, the only way to get Dragon Balls is while you're playing the parallel missions, you can be challenged by other time patrollers. And if you beat them, they might drop a Dragon Ball. So it's sort of like there's a 45% chance that a time patroller will appear. And then when out of the 45 that they do appear, they have a 15% chance to drop a Dragon Ball. So the odds are not stacked in your favor. And there are people that can get multiple sets in a single day. I had a hard time getting one a day. And I was pouring 4 or 5 hours into grinding Mission 15. Mission 15 you fight Frieza, or Mission 15 is you fight Frieza on Namek. And if you kill him in under a minute, you can, usually a time patroller will appear. And it seems to be the easiest, fastest way to really grind out those Dragon Balls. So it comes down to luck, I guess. It's highly irritating. And what really sucks is you have to. If you want to unlock every character, you have to collect all the Dragon Balls 3 times in a row. The first time you collect all 7, it will give you like 8 different wishes, all of which you can get by grinding out stuff anyways, except for a character reset, which this is the only way to reset your character. So if you don't like that you made a Majin, or if you don't like the way that you made your person, guess what? You have to waste a wish on the Dragon Balls or just outright delete the character. Which, trust me, it's faster to just delete the character and grind missions to level up. Sad as it is to say, it's actually faster to do that. But if you mess up attribute points, Dragon Balls, you gotta use the Dragon Balls, waste a wish to do that. And I'm sure some of people are saying, well, I made my character perfectly, I put all my stats exactly where I want them to be, I don't care about that. Well, if you want to unlock all the characters, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super Android 17, and Omega Shenron are all exclusively Dragon Ball wishes. You have to wish for, I wish there were more characters, I think it's the wishes, or something like that. But those are the only way to unlock those 3 characters. If you don't collect the Dragon Balls, you'll never be able to play with them, period. Which kind of sucks, because it's like, you want to play with them, and you want to show off bragging rights. Okay, so let me go back over my list. Yeah, okay, so I actually covered everything. Okay, so next up is costumes and character creations. Now, again, I said this was a pro, but this is also a con, too. I put this on here because there's not a lot of original stuff. For those of you who play Dragon Ball Online, the Namekian stuff, the Boo stuff, it's going to look really familiar. Because they took a lot of the skins and the haircuts. Well, in the Boo's case, it's more like tentacles, but they took a lot from the other game and ported it over to here, which isn't a bad thing. But for those of us that have played Dragon Ball Online, when I hear make my own character, I got super excited, and then I realized, oh, it's the exact same thing as what I already spent like 30 hours pouring into. It's not really all that new or fresh. It's kind of disappointing. But for those of you who have not encountered that, this is brand new for you. This is a personal negative for me. But moreover than that, what really was a negative for me is that all of the clothing, or most of the clothing, there are some original pieces, but almost all of the clothing, hairstyles, accessories, they're all taken from the Dragon Ball Z world that you can then use. There's hardly any original content that you can really sink your teeth into. It's not a character creation as I see it. I see a character creation as like what Dark Souls did, where you can actually change everything about your character, or what Skyrim did. What they did here in Xenoverse is they took your character. It came down to it stopped being a character creation, and it came down to who do you want your character to look like from Dragon Ball. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a huge negative to me personally. So if you're super excited to be able to make your own character, you can't. You can make them look like somebody from Dragon Ball, but you can't make your own character. And again, this probably is just a minor negative. This is more of, again, a personal con for me. But I know I'm not alone in that thinking. So bear that in mind. But moving on. Oh, that's another thing. Character slots. Make sure you like who you picked, because once you make your character, you are locked into that character until you beat the game. Once you beat the game, then all of your character slots will unlock, which I think is like 8 or 9. but you are locked into that character. You cannot make another one unless you choose to delete that character. And that was something that was also upsetting for me personally, because I like making new characters. I wanted to have one of each race. But no, so disappointing. Anyways, moving on. The next con is the enemy AI. The enemy AI, I've heard a lot of people saying it's hit and miss with them, whether they like it, whether they hate it. Me personally, pardon me, getting a little thirsty. Gotta do the do. Enemy AI. Now, when you run, before I go into the faults of the enemy AI, when you go into parallel missions, you can bring 2 other people with you. You can choose to do it online, where you play with other people, or you play with, or you can play with like canon characters like Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Beerus. You can choose to bring them in. And sometimes it's more desirable to do that one over the other, especially if you're trying to get like special stuff or special skills. But one of the problems that I found with the enemy AI is the AI is really bad, especially when lower levels, like if you're level 1 through 20 and you try to bring in like other characters like Goku or Vegeta, the AI will just sit there. There are points. It's not all the time, but I found this to be true for me personally. This happened a lot, where your AI will just sit there. They won't attack. They'll hover in a circle and just move around the enemy, and they won't move. And this is a major problem because the enemy AI, it governs however many characters it has, and you can be fighting up to 3 enemies at once. It governs those 3 not as one AI per body, but as one AI governing all 3, which means that if it realizes that the other 2 people you brought with you aren't a threat, it targets you, which means it turns from a 3-on-3 to a 3-on-1. And this game is very unforgiving when it comes down to you trying to fight and hold your own against hordes of enemies. It just, not hordes either, but it's very unforgiving in that aspect. I found that as you level up, though, the AI gets smarter that you're fighting with, so they'll actually do something. They're not stupid. Now, that being said, there are also times that, let me read, make sure. Okay. You can be stun locked as well, because if you have 3 people attacking you, even if you try to get your block up in time, I mean, it just wails on you. And there are points where I had to quit a few missions because the AI refused to attack my partners and only focused on me, and then the partners, of course, weren't fighting back. Now, again, this is more of a personal thing, but it could happen to you, and I've noticed a lot of people complaining that the AI doesn't work well, either enemy AI or ally AI. It doesn't work. Also, there's another point where the online AI, there's one mission in particular, it's one of the higher level parallel missions, but you basically have to fight Goku, Adult Gohan, and Goten. And my partners, like, you have to fight this mission alone. You cannot bring anybody with you, and you basically fight a gauntlet of enemies. I did fine up to a point until I fought those 3, because those 3 spammed Super Kamehamehas, which are their ultimate ki blast, non-stop. I was literally hit by 4 different Super Kamehamehas in one string because they kept mass firing them, and that killed me. And I got really angry, and I'm like, well, how are you supposed to be able to beat this? So, just as an example, like, the AI can be really broken. Expect some frustration. This is not an easy game. This is hard. Unless you're level 80, and even then, if you play stupidly, the game will kill you. It will outright, you're dead. But it's up to you. There are also points where the enemy AI will break the game, and this is another con I put down. There are points where if you unleash your super special, there are points where you can hit a button that will cause you to do an energy blast outwards, and what it's supposed to do is make you immune to damage until it's over. And normally, if you do a beam command, like I did the Final Flash, which is the longest lasting beam special in the game, it also hits 27 times, so it outputs overall the most damage. But what I found is that when I switched over to training under Goku, I made a Saiyan girl because she can Z assist more, which means she can have that assist to boost her specials. Well, I was firing Super Kamehamehas, like spamming them, because I have high energy, and Goku as Super Saiyan 3, like, did the energy block, but then the beam attack was still going on, and instead of, like, stopping or being paralyzed, he actually just completely ignored the attack and stopped taking damage and just started beating the crap out of me. And there have been multiple points where I've been firing energy attacks, and I don't know if this is a glitch with the Super Kamehameha or if it's just a problem in general, but there are times where the enemy AI will break the game to take you out. They'll ignore attacks, they'll ignore staggers. There are some times where it's scripted, but there are other times where attacks that should stagger them just don't. And then, guess what? That left you open, so you're a punching bag now. So, I don't know if this is a glitch, or because I think it might be a glitch, because I've also noticed my game is very prone to crashing a lot. But, oh well. So, moving on, the next con are Masters. Again, this was a pro, but it's also a con. Why is it a con? Because you can only have one. Even if you've beaten the game and have, 5 character slots, like, let's say I wanted to make a Goku-like character, I wanted to make Frieza, and I wanted to make a Piccolo. Well, pick and choose who you want to be able to actually have those Z assists, because you can only have one master for every single one of your characters. Which kind of sucks when you want to jump characters, because then you have to end up, like, you can switch your masters, like, if you decide to play as Frieza for the day, or a Frieza character, okay, switch to Frieza to be my master. The problem is you can't always find them, because masters will change positions, and they're not always easy to find them all. So that can be frustrating as well. And it's just irritating, because they should have made the masters to be unique to whoever whoever trained under them. But I guess it's the way that they did this is because of the how all items and stats and that sort of thing saved to your Steam account instead. That means your master does too, so it doesn't matter who you pick. If you're logged into your Steam account, you're playing as one character. Just another irritant in a stream of irritants that just really ticked me off. I've seen some other people complain about this, but not a lot, so I guess this isn't a big deal. I just like to optimize, and so if I want to make a Vegeta-esque character, well, I can't, because that means that someone else is getting screwed on their assist. So, I guess it's a personal thing, but skill setting. This is really more for online battling. If you want to go PvP, what sucks is the enemy, because all of your skills and items saved to your Steam account, you can have a level 1 that's shooting off Beerus's Death Ball. That can be firing off the Final Flash. Because higher level skills tend to have higher risks, but higher rewards. So an experienced player at level 1 with all of those skills can really just wreck you, especially if you're just starting in the game. So be aware of that if you do buy the game and you do start playing it, avoid online battles until you have at least a level 20, and that you have some skills that you can play your character with, and that you have some levels to get in there, and so you have some skills, because if you try to go in at level 1 like I did, you get slaughtered. And to be fair though, I did wait as well, so people did have time to go get higher skills, but I guess this is a personal thing again. It's up to you. Now, the final nail in the coffin, the final nail in the hammock, so to speak, is the online problems. And this is, if you try to log into the online server, it will kick you. Like, their connections are so bad. And unlike most games, like Dark Souls 2, you can choose to play offline. Games that normally would allow you to do that, they took away here. Xenoverse, if it can't connect to the server and your Steam account is online, you can't play the game at all. Meaning you have to restart your Steam account in offline mode just to play. And there will be multiple times where you are kicked off in the middle of a match because it can no longer connect to the server. I had a bunch of salt just spill out. Wonderful. But, so that's frustrating too, and a lot of people were really upset at this because you pay $80 pre-order the game, and you can't even play it unless you're offline. And that was like something this game really like got super hyped about was, oh, you can play with friends. No, you can't, because you can't play online hardly ever. And this seems to be hit and miss for people, but I've just noticed that overall my connection jumps all the time, and I consider myself personally lucky if I can connect for long to the online game server for longer than an hour, because it'll kick you nonstop. But what I would recommend is wait till the price drops and they fix online mode. But if you've listened to this and you're like, the pros definitely outweigh the cons don't really matter to me, this game looks amazing, I really want to get it. If you have the money, go ahead. It's just, for me personally and where I'm at now, this game was a waste of money because the negatives outweigh the pros for me. This might not be true for you. If you've listened to my review and do your research, look at other reviews, look at online reviews, and listen to what people are saying. If it seems like the pros definitely outweigh the cons, go for it. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. It's up to you, really. But be aware that this is an incomplete game, and as of right now, it is still broken, and it needs to be fixed. And on a side note, like, something that really irritated me too was DLC being released on day one. And it's like, just with all of the problems that this game has, you had the guts to release additional DLC that you have to pay for. It's like, why didn't you just throw it into the game and wait a month, fix the problems, and then release the game? Even keep the DLC. Why didn't you wait to release the game until it's broken? It just seems to me like a lot of games now, just when they're released, like, there are so many issues because they don't want to waste the extra couple of days to troubleshoot everything. But that is another argument for another time. So this was Sofferto 11. Come summer, I'm actually going to be putting final update for all of you who have still been following, which I think I have like 3 subscribers. But for those of you who are still following for sword fighting stuff, I'm actually going to be posting lightsaber reviews and lightsaber, like, actual forms and techniques. I'm also going to be doing sword fighting videos, which will be fun. But yes, so I will see you guys, I don't know when my next video is going to be, but I'll see you guys next time.